and I realised it was the fake one. I am in no way advocating what I attempted to do. Oh my God. A lot of people might think that just upping sticks and moving halfway across the world to a country that I have no real experience of other than a couple of short holidays here prior to when I moved here could be considered irresponsible or foolhardy or, you know, damn right stupid. I mean, look, everybody makes a few daft decisions and I'm no different than that. But let me tell you, I'm a very different person than who I was when I was younger. I think once I got to the back end of my 30s, I guess my maturity caught up with me. Is that the right way around putting it? I don't know if it is. What I'm trying to say is, when I was a younger person, I was incredibly irresponsible. I did things that you wouldn't believe. Things that I am not going to talk about on this channel. But I will tell you one thing that I did just to highlight this. I better just say before I start this story that I am in no way advocating what I attempted to do. It's been 25 years, I've grown up a lot in that time. Let's get to it. It's January 2000. I'm 20 years old, I think. Maybe I'm 19. Anyway, I decided to go off to India and Nepal for about 4 or 5 months, completely on my own. And I realise a lot of people that age do such a thing that, you know, I don't think these days there's anything particularly courageous about that. But what I did, God, I did lots of things on that trip, but they were sort of stupid, you know, but something that I attempted to do just before I left, so daft. So these were the days when you could get extremely cheap flights, well, all around the world, I guess, but certainly towards Asia from the UK and India. I managed to get a flight from London to Delhi, and it was about £300 for a return trip. Now I know that was 25 years ago, but even then that was extremely cheap. Now it was with an airline, I don't even know if they're still in existence. They shouldn't be. They're called Aeroflot, a Russian airline, and they were nicknamed within the industry Aeroflop because it was such low quality, you know. I remember being on that flight, taking off, and the seats were rattling, there were screws coming loose in the windows. My God, it was horrific. But look, anyway, I think it was cheap because we had to fly via Moscow. If you look on a world map, Moscow is nowhere near halfway between London and Delhi, nowhere near. Anyway, 2 days before my flight, I was back in Manchester. I was catching up with family and friends, and I bumped into an old school friend. I'd not seen him, well, at that point it would have been 3 or 4 years since I'd left school. We got chatting. I'm not going to say his name because it doesn't look good what he was doing. I asked him what he'd been up to, and he was always a bit of a dodgy guy. And he pulled out of his wallet a £20 note. He handed it to me. I looked at it and said, yeah, okay, well, what's this? And he said, oh, it's fake. I'm selling them for £12 each. Now, straight away, I thought, right. I'm on such an incredibly tight budget for my trip to Nepal and India. Now, my budget for this upcoming trip that was to last 4 or 5 months, I think it was in the end, was about £400. That's separate from the airfare, obviously, but £400 to last between 4 and 5 months. All right, it's India, Nepal, it's one of the cheapest places on earth to get by, but even so, that is a very tight budget. So when my friend showed me this fake £20 note, and he said they cost £12 each, I was thinking, right, well, straight away, my £400 budget, if I spent it all on fake £20 notes before I leave, suddenly I've got closer to £600 budget. And that 1.5 second calculation in my brain was all it took to say to him, right, I'll have £400 worth, please. Now, he was over the moon. he went off. He said, right, meet me back here tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. He didn't take my money with him at that point. He said he'll come back with the fake notes in the morning and we'll do the deal then. So I went back home, rubbing my hands in glee. I was so excited because suddenly all of my calculations, my budget for the upcoming 4 or 5 month trip were going to suddenly be increased by about 50%. So rather than working out that I had whatever it was, £2.50 a day to live on, I suddenly had about £3.50 a day. Still not a lot, is it? But the next morning arrives. I was up early, the crack of dawn, went back down to the place to meet him. You have to remember, this was kind of before everybody had mobile phones, really. There was certainly no social media back then. I don't think I had a mobile phone in the year 2000. I certainly didn't take one to India and Nepal with me. It was purely email, Hotmail, that's what everybody got by on. So there I was, stood outside the row of shops, so familiar with my childhood they were, waiting for my mate from school to rock up with £600 worth of fake £20 notes. I was so excited. Anyway, turned up a little bit late, tail between his legs, and he apologised profusely because the guy he was getting them from let him down the last second. They weren't ready or whatever it was. He didn't have any. And he could see how gutted I was because I spent the last 15 hours, you know, rejoicing in the fact that my budget was so much more based upon this deal, this dodgy deal that he'd promised me. Anyway, as way of apology, he gave me the sample, the one he'd showed me the day before, the fake £20 note, just one of them. He said, look, have this. You know, it was my way of saying sorry for letting you down. So I took the fake £20 note off him, just the one solitary note, and I tucked it in amongst all of the real £20 notes in my wallet. Said cheerio. Never seen the guy again. Got on my flight up to Moscow, snowy Moscow, in the middle of the night. All of the airport staff seem to have Kalashnikov rifles. Very, very dodgy airport. Then down to Delhi, and I started this trip. Now, Delhi in January, at least in the year 2000, it was quite chilly. Wasn't what I was expecting. In my first trip to India, I'd only taken t-shirts and shorts with me. I thought it was going to be roasting hot. It wasn't, it was chilly. And so I got on a train pretty sharpish down south. I ended up in Goa, right down to the south in Kerala. And a couple of days later I found myself on a beach, a beautiful deserted beach, white sand, turquoise ocean. It was so gorgeous. Very, very quiet. Again, the year 2000, 25 years ago, tourism hadn't started to explode in Goa like it has now. Now there are no stretches of beach that are just completely deserted. There's a 5-star hotel on every section of beach that you can see, and it was very different back then. I'm showing my age here, aren't I? Because I was staying in very, very, very cheap hostels and rooms and hotels, if they could be called that, I never trusted to leave my passport and my wallet in my room when I went to the beach. It was always in a side pocket of my shorts, my passport and my wallet with all my money in. It was always with me. Anyway, I looked out upon this glorious beach, glistening turquoise sea, whipped my t-shirt off, wasn't quite as chub as I am these days, kicked my flip-flops into the sand, and I raced into the sea, jumped in. Oh, it was like a warm bath. I swam out. It was heavenly, absolute delightful. Anyway, I've been swimming around for about 10 minutes, I guess, just enjoying the absolute beautiful tranquility of that moment. Deserted beach, no one else around the place, just me. And I suddenly thought, shit, my wallet and passport are still in my pocket of my shorts. So I frantically swam back to the shore, ran up the beach, whipped out my passport and my wallet, put them on the sand with my flip-flops, and I was thinking, oh my god. I started thumbing through the pages of my passport, making sure everything was okay with it, you know. It was wet, yeah, but it was no damage. Opened up my wallet, pulled out the quite thick wad of £20 notes that was in there. Don't forget, this was the very start of my trip around India and Nepal. I had barely gone into my budget at this point. Started thumbing through all of the very wet £20 notes are all stuck together in a big clump, but they're all okay, it's fine, just damp. Going through them, and then in the middle of this clump of wet £20 notes was just a piece of white paper, £20 note sized shape. I thought, what the hell is this? And then I realised it was the fake one. Oh my God. I have never ever in my life been as grateful to not succeed in something because if I had gone through with that deal, if my mate Johnny, Dodgy Johnny from Manchester, had actually come good with his promise and given me £600 worth of fake £20 notes, I'd have been absolutely screwed on that beach, on that beautiful white sandy beach in South India. God forbid, I don't know what I would have done. I really don't know what I would have done. I'd have been absolutely stranded with not a penny or not a rupee to my name. So for anybody who says that I am irresponsible or stupid for doing what I've done here in rural Thailand, trying to build an off-grid life for myself, believe me, it's not irresponsible. Anyway, I have plenty of stories like that from over the years, and so if this video gets a few views, perhaps I'll indulge you with another one. Until then, thank you for watching. If you got to the end, thank you so much. Don't forget, like and subscribe, even maybe share the video. See you soon. Have a great week. You tolerating Judy, money? Hey, you tolerating the other dogs? My goodness me. Wonders never cease. No, not you.